Extreme trigger warning. This video discusses sensitive and distressing topics, including violence, harm to minors, and systemic failures that contributed to a tragic loss. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If you find such content distressing, please proceed with caution or consider skipping this video. Ladies and gentlemen, today's story is nothing short of heartbreaking, enraging, and deeply unsettling. Imagine a young girl, only 13 years old, who had her entire future ahead of her. She should have been worrying about school, friendships, and teenage dreams. Instead, she met an unimaginable fate at the hands of those who were supposed to be her peers. Niyah Baker's life was tragically stolen in one of the most disturbing cases of recent years, a case so dark that it exposes not only the horrors of violence among youth, but also the deep failures of the system meant to protect her. This case isn't just a story, it's a wake-up call. It's about a young girl who cried out for help multiple times before she was ultimately failed. This is the full story of Niyah Baker, the shocking details of her final moments, and the disturbing truth about the people responsible. Stay with me as we uncover every detail of this case. But first, if you find value in these deep dives, make sure to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that matters. Now, let's begin. On January 15th, 2025, Columbia, South Carolina was rocked by devastating news. Firefighters responding to a house fire made a gruesome discovery inside a vacant home: human remains. As investigators combed through the scene, it didn't take long to identify the victim. It was 13-year-old Niyah Baker, a girl who had been reported missing just 2 days earlier. The coroner later confirmed what everyone had feared. This was no accident. Niyah had been brutally unalived in a manner so horrifying that it shocked even the most seasoned law enforcement officials. The news of her passing sent shockwaves through the community, but as details started to emerge, the story only became more disturbing. 2 teenage girls, aged 15 and 16, were arrested and charged in connection with Niyah's brutal attack. What could lead 2 teenagers to commit such a horrific act? And how did a 13-year-old girl end up in such a dangerous situation? Let's rewind and take a deeper look at who Niyah Baker was. The series of events leading up to this horrific crime and the dark realities this case exposes. Niyah Baker was not just another missing person. She was a young girl who had struggled through a difficult life. She had been reported missing multiple times in the past year, raising questions about her home life and the system that was supposed to be keeping her safe. Born into challenging circumstances, Niyah was living in foster care at the time of her passing. It is unclear what led to her being placed into the foster system, but reports indicate that she had been bouncing between different homes and frequently ran away. However, just because she ran away does not mean she was safe. In fact, Many children who frequently go missing do so because they feel unsafe or neglected in their environments. Was Niyah running from something? Was she crying out for help? This wasn't the first time authorities had been involved in her life. In July and August of 2024, she had been reported missing, and both times she was found and returned to foster care. But something was clearly wrong. The system found her, but did it ever actually help her? As we move deeper into this case, we'll see how Niyah's vulnerability made her an easy target and how two individuals took advantage of that vulnerability in the worst way imaginable. January 13th, 2025 started like any other day. Niyah was in her foster home in Hopkins, South Carolina. At some point during the day, she left and was last seen in the area of Auburn-Leaf Drive. Authorities issued a missing persons alert stating that she was considered endangered. Her disappearance didn't initially make national headlines. After all, she had gone missing before. But something was different this time. She wasn't found safe within hours or days, and when she was found, it was under the most horrifying circumstances. Two days later, on January 15th, Columbia firefighters were called to a vacant home, engulfed in flames. As they worked to extinguish the fire, they made a grim discovery. Inside the burned house were human remains. The remains were later confirmed to belong to Niyah, and the details of what had happened to her were beyond horrific. The coroner determined that she had suffered blunt force trauma, stab wounds, and severe burns. Someone had not only taken her life, but had gone to great lengths to try to cover up the crime. But investigators didn't have to look far to find the alleged perpetrators. Two teenage girls, one 15 and the other 16, were arrested and charged in connection with Niyah's tragic passing. What is even more shocking is that these were not unknown criminals. They were girls Niyah knew. The 16-year-old had also been reported missing on January 12th, just one day before Niyah disappeared. She had a history of legal troubles, though details on her past offenses remain undisclosed due to her age. The 15-year-old was also known to authorities as a frequent runaway. Together, they orchestrated an act of violence so brutal that the state is now trying them as adults. But why? What could possibly drive two teenage girls to do something so horrific? Was it premeditated, or did something escalate to a violent breaking point? The legal process will be a crucial aspect of this case. Because both suspects are minors, there are legal complexities involved in prosecuting them as adults. If convicted, they could face decades behind bars. However, many are questioning whether justice will truly be served, especially given the systemic failures that led to this tragedy. Niyah's passing has left a deep scar on the community. Many are demanding changes in how runaway and foster children are protected. calling for stricter measures to prevent such tragedies in the future. Vigils and protests have taken place, emphasizing the need for reform. Niyah Baker should still be here today. Her life should not have ended in such a tragic and violent way. We owe it to her and to countless other children in similar situations to ask the hard questions and demand change. If this story moved you, don't let Niyah's memory fade. Share this video, spread awareness, and advocate for change. Let's work together to protect vulnerable children and ensure they receive the care and safety they deserve. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the conversation in the comments below. Justice for Niyah starts with us.